Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Dune by Frank Herbert. You might be a little bit surprised to see this review come out now because I've done reviews for several of the other Dune books. I've done reviews for Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, as well as some of the Dune prequels, like the House prequels, like House Atreides, House Harkonnen, House Carino, as well as the Schools of Dune prequel trilogy. So I've read several books in the Dune universe, yet I've never actually reviewed the original Dune novel. This is because I read the original Dune novel before I actually started this channel. I read it probably about a year before I started the channel. And so I just didn't get around to reviewing it until now. So this is a reread that I did in anticipation of Dune Part 2. And there's a little funny story behind this, that the first time I read the book was in October of 2020. And I was really excited for the movie. I had heard good things about it. I'm a big science fiction fantasy fan, so I was really pumped. And I read the book, really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads at the time. I thought it had pacing issues, which I still kind of think it has. But I still gave it a pretty good rating and really enjoyed it. And then the day that I finished the book, I wrote my review. I opened up Twitter, and Part 1, I should say, Part 1 had been delayed almost a year, from December 2020 to October 2021. And so I was like, darn it, it's just been delayed. And so I watched the movie in 2021 when it came out, and I loved it. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And so I was really excited, still really am excited for Part 2 to come out. And I had it on my schedule, TBR, to read in October of 2023 when the movie was supposed to come out in November. And then right before October 2023, I think it was like September, I realized the movie's going to get delayed because of the actors' strike in Hollywood. So it would be best for me to postpone my reread until when the movie's actually going to come out. So I just took it off my TBR, wasn't even sure when I was going to put it back on the TBR, and then the movie got pushed to March. And when it looked like March 1st, and when it looked like it was going to hit the March 1st date, I decided to reread the book in February of this year. So I reread the book, and I'm getting this review just in time for the movie to come out. So it's perfect timing for me. And so I'm talking about the whole book. Obviously, the new movie's only Part 2, which is the last like 150, 200 pages of the book. Which is kind of funny that the first movie really covers the first 500 pages of the book, and then the second movie covers only the last 200 pages. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book on reread. I actually think it's better than I initially gave it. So I bumped it up on Goodreads to a full 5 stars. I still give it like a 9 out of 10. I still have some problems with the pacing, particularly the lack of action in the ending. I think that it didn't have enough. I think that the action was too rushed, and I think that he had a lot of the story of the first half of the book is much more setup and slow burn political intrigue plot, and then he felt like he had to have an action sequence, and then he was just trying to rush to the ending, and at least how I felt like I read it. And I still feel that way, but on this reread, I really appreciated the world building. I appreciated the characters. I appreciated the actual lack of mystery this time. You actually know when you're reading this book, and I'm going to talk about the book, I assume if you've seen the movies and you've read the book, like, this is one of the more known books, so I'm going to talk about some spoilers in the book. You know pretty early on who the traitor is among the Atreides clan. In the movie, you don't know who the traitor is, or really, honestly, that there is a traitor until midway through the movie. But you learn at the very beginning, I think it's like chapter 2 or 3 in this book, who that traitor is. And so it puts you on an unsettling path where characters are kind of accusing each other or suspecting each other of being the traitor, and you know who the traitor is. And so you start thinking, oh no, they've got the wrong person, they're looking in the wrong place, things like that. I also was really impressed on this reread by how faithful to the tone and faithful to the themes of the world building that the movies are to the books. There's several lines of dialogue that are just ripped from the book into the movie, and there's several sequences in the movie. Part one, I should say, because I haven't seen part two yet. I'll be seeing it very, very soon. But there are scenes that are just, like lifted from the book and just feel like I could visualize them perfectly because the movie did such a good job of doing that. And in the book, I particularly enjoy the sequences where Paul is learning about Arrakis. And there's a few times where he's talking with his mother where he's learning about it, other times where his mother is learning about it, which I was surprised to remember that the sequence of Jessica getting the thing from Shutout Mapes was incredibly early on in the book as well. The timeline of events in this book is interesting. And then I thought that the unpacking of that they're about to have the overthrow midway through the book. You know that that's coming. The first 300 pages are just spent with that anticipation of the overthrow of House Atreides is coming, but we don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know all the details of it. And so there's this kind of scariness to it, this kind of horror that you don't know when it's going to happen. And then you have the whole middle section of the book, which is about Paul and Jessica escaping through Arrakis and trying to find help in the Fremen. And it's interesting to see Paul kind of embrace the Fremen, but at the same time also have greater aspirations. I think one thing I appreciate about Paul is his ability to see the bigger picture. Paul is not just in this book for survival. Like his mother talks several times in this book about just surviving. We need to get to the Fremen just so we can keep living. We need to get off planet just so we can keep living. Jessica doesn't seem to have a plan going forward. And even several of the other characters in the book don't have big plans set forth. They're kind of reacting to things. Paul is playing kind of a three-dimensional chess. He knows how the Imperialists think, and he knows how the Fremen think. He knows that he can use the Fremen against the Imperialists. He knows that he can use the Fremen to gain the Empire, and so he makes plans throughout, and it's purposeful. Paul does not make his move until it's going to get him the maximum victory at the end, which is kind of makes sense that the action sequence happens so fast because it has to happen fast if he's going to win, which is he needs to capture the Emperor, he needs to capture the princess so that he can marry her, he needs to wipe out the Harkonnens, get rid of them. He needs to do all this stuff, which I thought was just very well played. I also really enjoyed the usage of Paul's sister in this book at the end. Her wisdom is really interestingly used. And I enjoyed, reading about the other characters as well. I was surprised that Thurfir had a much bigger role in this book than he does in the movie. I think that Gurney's role is pretty close to the same, and Duncan's role I think is bigger in the movie than it is here in the book. Although I know he's in other Dune materials, but it seems like the book has more Thurfir and the movie has more Duncan. Which makes sense because you have Jason Momoa. You're going to use Jason Momoa because he's a great actor. And also because, if you've seen the first movie, you know that they kill him off in the first movie, and so they wanted to use what they could of him, although he'll be back in some way. And so I really enjoyed this reread of Dune. I think that the world building of of Arrakis is really interesting, seeing how the Empire uses the resources and the difficulty and how the way the economics changes everything was well established in this book, and it's well discussed in the prequels. So I really enjoyed the book. I would say that this is the best of the Dune books. Although I would say that the Schools of Dune trilogy is up there with this on like almost an even level, and then I'd put right below it, really close below it, is the Houses of Dune trilogy that I read, and then a distance below there is the It's Okay book of Children of Dune. I just didn't enjoy this much, and then you have, and the I did not enjoy category is Dune Messiah. I really didn't enjoy Dune Messiah, and this is one of those things that I can say is I hope that we get a Dune Messiah adaptation, and I will probably not appreciate the direction that the movie goes, but I'm just so much enjoying this universe, enjoying Denis Villeneuve's vision, that I'm hoping that we get the movie, despite the fact that I can't stand the book. And also just because I want him to be able to get past that and do other things. Like, I'd love to see an adaptation of Children of Dune. But I really enjoyed the first Dune. And I have God Emperor of Dune, which I very much anticipate reading in later 2024. I don't know when specifically. I don't have a specific date, so don't hold me to anything. But late 2024, I anticipate getting a reread, or not a reread, and a first-time read-through of God Emperor, which I've told is very different than the others. But as of that, I really enjoyed my read-through of Dune. So if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And are you excited for the movie that's coming out? Let me know those thoughts as well. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.